What is up, Fantasy? Dan and I are here talking high-stakes Dynasty teams, roster management, Dynasty trades, all of the above, man. All the fun stuff. We got a new show for you guys. Let's get to it.
Go district, you know the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.
What is up, Dynasty Land? Like I said, I'm here with my boy, Dan, the overhyped sleeper. For those who don't know, I know usually when we do our shows, especially the GOAT District on weeknights, our usual longer format shows, we bring on a lot of guests, a lot of high power guests, high stakes, beasts, sharks that take down, 6-digit leagues. So we like to have the spotlight on them. And we don't talk a lot about, too much about our leagues and kind of what we do behind the scenes. So Dan and I actually co-own a handful of teams together, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Actually, it started with one, and we seem to keep adding, one here and there, and we've had a lot of success. Last year, we took down the Hardway Dynasty League, which is probably the hardest league. I know Dan's in some other, sharky leagues. But I would say that's probably the hardest league I'm in for sure, which is an FFPC one quarterback. What do you think, Dan? Is that fair enough to say it's one of the hardest leagues out there?
Yeah, it's definitely one of my top leagues as well. I have leagues that are for more money, but the competition from top to bottom is not the same in any of those leagues. Each one of those other leagues has 2, 3, 4, 5 players that might be at home in the hard way, but a few that probably wouldn't be. And like I say, top to bottom, hard way is definitely it.
Yeah, it's a stacked league, fun DM, like just savages in the fantasy, whether it's redraft, dynasty, and in the high stakes world. So it's always fun conversation. It's always challenging to get deals done. Dan and I actually managed to get some done this week, which we will talk about. As the FFPC cut down date approaches, we'll talk about that as well. But just to give you guys an idea, the whole point of this show, will be dropping it every week. We're not going to record it live at first, just to test this out, and then give you guys a behind the scenes look at Dan and I just discussing our rosters, moves that we're interested in making. Like I said, the drops are coming, Dan, the famous cutoff dates, and there's some decisions to be made. So it's always fun to discuss those as well.
Yep, definitely.
All right. So let me get, you want to start in the hard way?
Yeah, might as well, since we teased it. Let's jump in there.
So for those listening, again, make sure you check us out on YouTube and as well on Spotify. That way you get the visuals. We'll be showing our rosters. We'll be showing some of the trades we've made. So this is our roster, Dan. I'll read it off quickly just to let, again, those that are not getting the visuals know what we're working with. We've got, again, it's FFPC, so it's one quarterback. It's, I just realized my mic is not even in front of me. Look at that. See, I haven't had my coffee yet. How's that sound? Sound a little better or what?
Yeah, that definitely works.
All right. Hopefully the sound was good enough.
It was fine before.
All right,
yeah.
Perfect.
No big deal.
So it's one quarterback, tight end premium. The thing with the FFPC, for those that are not already playing on there, which you should be, and we've got an exclusive bonus for you guys a little later on, it's a shallower roster. So you've got 20 roster spots, and then with the cut down coming up, you got to take it down to 16, right, Dan?
Yes, that's correct.
So we've got Justin Herbert at quarterback, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, which we just made a move for. We'll talk about that. Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, TJ Hawkinson, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman, and then Dan and I are suckers for kickers, so we had to get Justin Tucker in the startup. On the bench, we've got most likely a drop, Zach Moss. Antonio Gibson is a guy I'm really high on this year, and I've got actually an interesting stat on him that we can talk about. Dan, try to remind me about that. Hassan Haskins, which, again, maybe a droppable guy. Tyler Algier, who had a surprising year for some last year as a rookie. Jalen Warren, a great depth guy, especially if you have Harris. Jerick McKinnon, Ty Montgomery. James Conner is a piece that we made a move for. Gus Edwards, Jelani Woods, and Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, so I really like the moves we made for this roster. This was, as JD said, we won the league with this team last year. It was very close, and to be honest, without that Cincinnati Buffalo game getting canceled, we would not have won the league. But you win some, you lose some, so we'll definitely take it. And if you're looking at those trades, JD, I've got that screen ready to go. I can just.
Oh, do you? Awesome. That's even better. Yeah, because this one's a little.
Let's look at a couple trades we made to kind of get ready for the next season.
All right, pop it up.
Yep.
Perfect.
Here we go. All right, so let me get it where you can see everything.
Yeah, maybe just scroll it up a bit, and then you can.
Yeah.
Zoom it in a bit.
There we go, and let's zoom.
I always find the way, and I always joke about it in the DMs because we'll drop trade proposals or trades that went through to each other, and whether it's FFPC, MFL, it doesn't matter what platform I am on. I don't know why, but I just have trouble. I find that they don't make it very simple and clear the way that, like, who's getting what in the trade. So you found this. This is actually, I like that.
Yeah, this is way clearer.
So that's under the transactions part of the Dynasty leagues on the FFPC. Okay, awesome.
Yep, exactly. So basically, just to kind of lead into it, one of the things JD and I talked about last week was we really needed to shore up our running back room. We felt good about what we had, but we felt like we could use a better RB2 and also hopefully a little bit more depth. So I think these deals kind of accomplish that. The one deal kind of led to the other. JD and I were both talking about both of these deals before we made either one of them. And we didn't really think that we had a great chance at getting Najee, just based on some conversations I'd had with the owner, who is Ghost Tesla on Twitter, Greg Chabot. And he's a longtime friend of mine, somebody who I think very highly of as far as their dynasty and just all-around fantasy football knowledge. Very sharp player, tends to do real well in any league that he's in. So anyway, we made a couple trades with him. The first player we were going after was Connor, just because we felt like he was a really undervalued guy in Dynasty right now, just because of age and the fact that nobody likes the Arizona offense. But if you take a look at what Connor's done with Kyler Murray out, the last few weeks of last season, it looked really nice. So, this is a team that hasn't really done anything in free agency at running back. They have a lot of other fish to fry in the draft. Not to say they won't hit running back eventually, but it seems unlikely they would spend a high pick on a running back. So Connor seems like a fairly insulated pick right now that you can get pretty cheap. And so we had made an offer last week, and then Greg came back with this one of the 302 and a 24 third for Connor in our seventh.
And for those I think, Dan, because of injuries, because he's moved around already to two different NFL teams, I think sometimes it's forgotten how effective James Conner is as a running back in fantasy. He finished last year in 2022. It was an injured season. He finished 13 games as the RB9 fantasy points per game. In 2021, he was the RB7. He had a couple years. He was closer to an RB2, back in RB2 in 2020, 2019. Dealing with injuries and stuff, and then he gave you RB7 in his second year in Pittsburgh in 2018. So he's given us top 10 seasons, and just recently, Dan, 2 top 10 seasons his last 2 years when you're looking at fantasy point per game. So again, because of the uncertainty in Arizona, we've talked on our other shows, including Best Ball, you're seeing value with Arizona players, and I think JC is a part of that, especially because of the injuries. I think people forget how effective he is when he is on the field. And I mean, what did we give, Dan? 2/3?
Yeah, we gave 2/3. And, part of the reason why his value is insulated is he's a good pass catcher. In Arizona, totally different offensive system coming in, granted. But we think they're likely to be working without Kyler Murray, at least for the first few games. And so you're probably going to see a lot of checkdowns to the running back from Colt McCoy or whoever they put in at quarterback. But it's probably going to be Colt McCoy that's starting games for him if it's not Kyler. And with Connor, I mean, you're not getting likely a full season out of him. I always plan on, if I get 11, 12 games out of James Conner, that's great. But he's a guy that, I feel very confident about. If he's playing for Arizona, I would feel confident just slipping him into the starting lineup. And right now, he's a bench player for us.
Yeah, which is anytime you have a guy you can slip in anytime, like he's not, you're not waiting for injury, you're not waiting for a backfield to clear up. I mean, JC, even if they bring in a rookie, he's going to own that starting position. 46 receptions last year. Dan, the thing I like about him is he had 18 touchdowns the year prior, so everyone's yelling, touchdown regression. Yeah, he went down to 8 touchdowns, but he cranked up the receptions, and that evened out his production, which was nice.
Yep, absolutely. And then why don't you take us into that next trade, JD? Because you were kind of the person who came up with the initial idea on it. You basically hammered out the framework for this one to start with, and then we just had to kind of massage it around until we got something we could agree on.
Yeah, Najee Harris, funny enough, this time of year, you get into guys maybe that you weren't before, I find. It's that time of year, whether you hear like a good take and then it gets you to dive deep into it or whatever it is. But I like to anytime I see guys' value that I find are, maybe the general perception is lower, and you see, in the best ball drafts, you see these guys fall. So you start to see value in guys, and that's where in Dynasty, for me, they become trade targets, right? Especially, again, this time of year. You, Dan, said something to me in the DMs the other day, and I even tried to get you to drop like a short or something about it, because I thought it was a very valuable tidbit that you gave. And I was asking you, like, why are you, because I noticed you were really aggressively going after running backs. And I asked you why. You told me why. I don't know if you want me to share that now, or if you want to wait another, what do we have, 31st? So we have a few days.
No, no. I mean, I think this is what our listeners want. So, let's talk about what we're doing.
For sure. And Dan just pointed out, starting running backs, and it's true, especially in the higher stakes leagues, they're really hard to get. I mean, especially in trades, to get guys that are locked in as, workhorse running backs. But if you're going to do it, this is the time of year. And there's 2 reasons, I think. One, Dan, you pointed out, how hard it is to get these guys in the leagues. But as we lead into the rookie draft, right, the NFL rookie draft, there's always that uncertainty at the running back position. You've got free agency that's still happening. So you have all these possibilities of your running back or that running back's value getting cratered, right? So it's kind of like the hot potato, and people get a little worried. So they're maybe more inclined to move running backs this time of year, especially if you're targeting the right one. So we targeted Najee. Like I said, he's a guy, I don't have any Najee. He's not a guy that I have high ownership with, but I do find his value, the perception on him is low right now. I think he's a good buy. He does still have, as much as we saw Warren, and Warren's exciting and fun, I think that for Pittsburgh to run well, you want both of these guys to be producing. And, Harris had a down season. I believe he was dealing with injuries last year. So a lot of factors why rookie quarterback coming in, a lot of new pieces in Pittsburgh. You saw guys like Deontay produce, but 0 touchdowns. So you could see this offense with a Tomlin, coaching regime running the show, improving this year. And for sure, Harris is going to be a big part of that. So I don't know that they're going to come in and start replacing Harris or, giving him less touches or any of that. I think he goes back to and I'll pull up his stats while maybe you take over, Dan. But basically the trade was to go after Harris to get ourselves a true RB2. And that puts him ahead of Connor, which is nice because now we have the flexibility at the position with our starting running backs. So we sent Juju Smith-Schuster. Wow, I can't say that today. AJ Dillon, our 112 and our 312. And we got Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, both Pittsburgh Steelers running backs.
Yeah, so thoughts on this trade. Pretty much every asset in this trade is kind of a distressed asset a little bit, no matter which side you're looking at.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
So, like people are kind of down on this draft class. So the 112 doesn't carry the same cachet that it does a lot of years. AJ Dillon, everybody's disappointed that Aaron Jones has come back. So it's going to be, they have to wait yet another year for AJ Dillon to break out if he ever does. Juju, everybody is just completely over, and now he's going to New England, and New England did terrible last year. So nobody sees a bright future for Juju. And then we're getting Najee Harris, probably at the low point. He's going to be 25 this year, and people are starting to look at his age. He was a rookie just 2 years ago, but he's already 25 and things like that. But, this is a team that wants to run the ball a lot. This is a team that will throw to its running backs. So as JD said, getting Najee Harris at a downtime, I feel like we definitely got the best asset here. What we had to give up was kind of a collection of things. In a way, it's almost an overpay. But if you look at what each of these individual assets are getting in the trade market, Juju, Dillon, the 112, it's just really not that much. So we felt like this was a good deal. It kind of helped us consolidate down a little bit. As far as like so we had a strong number 2 running back, as JD said. A lot of teams, Najee Harris might be their number 1.
And with the 2 flex spots on FFPC, you don't mind having that flexibility, right? Because, maybe right. Keenan Allen doesn't go 1 week or whatever it is. So you want to be able to fill in your flex spots with guys that should be in your starting lineup. That's the way I look at my FFPC team. And that's kind of why we had Jordan McNamara on recently on Dynasty Market Check, talking about how you want to upgrade your pieces, not downgrade, not break them up into mush. You want to collect pieces like we did, and then upgrade and get yourself a more significant piece. And if you look at Harris, his 2 first years in the NFL, played the same amount of games. The biggest difference, he had the same amount of touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. His first year, he was the RB6. Last year, RB19, fantasy points per game. The biggest difference is the receptions, Dan. He went from 74 to 41. And again, you've got a rookie quarterback coming in. He's got to learn the offense. He's got to learn in the NFL. These guys have to build a rapport. They got to build a playbook around him. So we're going to probably see that change. I don't know if this becomes his kind of more his average. Or is that now his floor? We don't know. I think we're all guessing, right, at this point. But the fact that he's shown us a season with 74 receptions and 1,200 yards, over 300 touchdowns, I mean, you see that the volume is there. So anyways, enough on Harris. We thought that was a good get. Like we talked about with Juju and AJ Dillon. Again, Dan, just the last thing on this, it's all about how these pieces fit in your roster as well, right? Like individually, for sure, the pieces, you want to look at them, but it's, for us, Harris is probably worth even more because he fits so nicely in this roster, this defending title roster that we have here in the Hardaway League.
Yep, absolutely. And basically we are pickless through the first 3 rounds, but we're okay with that. Because we weren't wild about what we were likely to get the 112. Certainly, the third round picks are pretty forgettable picks. You can toss them into any deal. And so we were just looking for ways to upgrade our starting lineup and solidify our bench right now. So basically the 16 players that we walk into April with after we make our cut downs here, that's the core of our team. And we didn't really sacrifice much of anything for next year. We've sacrificed a third round pick for next year, but otherwise our picks are intact. So we still have ammo during the season if we need it.
Do you want to cut some guys now, or you want to wait till the last?
No, let's just kind of finish off this league. We can kind of look at our cuts, probably make a couple now, and then.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I think we can.
Okay.
Do you want to put it up, or do you want me to?
Yeah, if you got it, go ahead. I'll stop sharing mine.
All right. So these are our bench guys right now. I think Zach Moss is safe to say that he's going to be a drop.
Yeah. So we've got to get down to 6 bench guys, basically, is what we need to get down to.
6, 8, 10, 11. So we got to drop 5 guys.
Correct. Yep. And so I think it's safe to say Hassan Haskins, Zach Moss, they're going to be.
All right. Zach Moss, you gone.
Yep.
Haskin, you gone.
Ty Montgomery,
he gone. So now the decisions. Gus Edwards, most likely gone, but heavily undervalued in best balls right now. I'm just going to point that out.
Right, yeah. Gus Edwards is probably gone. If we want, we can hold on to him and see if anybody wants to make a move for him. And Jerick McKinnon, probably gone. But again, he might sign somewhere, so worth holding on to for now. So basically, we've got it to we have 8 bench players. We know who our cuts are likely to be. If McKinnon ends up somewhere juicy, or J.K. Dobbins, something horrible happens to him, which we hope doesn't happen. We could hang on to one of those guys and then drop a tight end or something instead. But Gibson, Allgaier, Jalen Warren probably stays just because we have Najee Harris, and we like those tight ends, Jelani Woods and Tyler Higbee. And of course James Conner is definitely staying as well.
Yeah, so most likely Edwards and McKinnon. And if you look at our bench, I mean, that's, in my opinion, where you want your depth, unless you're playing a triflex league where you got to start 3 receivers. You want your depth at running back and at tight end, in my opinion. I just find my strongest teams always have, a solid 2, if not 3 or 4 solid tight ends, because it is tight end premium. And then you definitely want the depth on the bench to get you through the seasons.
Right, exactly. And if you move up to our starting lineup, basically we are starting 4 wide receivers right now. And those are the only 4 wide receivers we have. But we also have some picks in the 4th through 7th round where we can add some depth. And the nice thing about FFPC, the standard Dynasty leagues that they run, there's almost always a startable wide receiver on the waiver wire if you really need one. So we won't mind.
And just to point out, Dan, when you do, again, for those that might not be on the site already, and guys, if you're not on the FFPC, make sure you go to myffpc.com. I've got a link below in the description, the show description. Use the code GOAT if you go directly and sign up when you make your first deposit, and you'll get a $25 credit that you can use for anything 35 and up. So even a $35 entry will cost you $10. Which right now can get you up to $5,000 in a never too early best ball draft. But going back to the Dynasty, you can also draft in the reason I'm pointing this out, because I know especially MFL leagues that you and I play in, you can't necessarily draft free agents. Whereas in the rookie drafts for the FFPC, there are certainly the rookies, but you can also draft free agents that are on the waiver wire.
Yes, absolutely. And, the nice thing is we have a lot of running back depth. And as we talked about earlier in the show, running backs really do get to be at a premium in these standard FFPC leagues.
Yeah.
So if we need to trade for a wide receiver, we have the pieces to do it as well. So, not too worried about that.
All right, Dan. You know what? For our first one, we're already at 25 minutes.
Yep.
Why don't we leave it here? I don't want to.
Okay.
The whole point of these was to not make them too long.
Right.
So why don't we leave it here? We'll stick with the hard way today. Start off with our defending title team for the first episode, and then next week we'll jump over to one of our other high stakes leagues on the FFPC, or we've got one league I think on the MFL and the Gold Leagues that we can also talk about on this show.
Yep, definitely.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let us know in the comments, guys. Smash the like button if you did enjoy the show, if you got something out of it. The whole idea is Dan and I get together to talk about our rosters anyways. We figure we'll drop some content, let you guys see some behind the scenes of us managing our rosters, trades. Today we talked about trades that we did this previous week. In the future shows, we'll probably talk about trades that we're looking to make. Of course, we're going to have cut downs, so we'll keep talking cut downs until that comes up. And if you have any dynasty questions, roster questions yourself, again, please drop those in the comments and we'll answer those for you. And look out for the next episode soon. We'll be dropping this hopefully this weekend. So enjoy your weekend, and we'll check you all later.
District, the Pope listens. Dynasty, our religion, for the blokes missing. On all of these trades, on all of these plays, on all of these grades. By the end of the day, y'all getting played. So, what you gonna do next? Try to fill up that flex? Send the homie a text? That trash offer's the best? You try to make it complex, then they text you back. Now all of a sudden, they don't make any sense. Broaden your horizons, boy. Dynasty's not for the Simons, boy. These trades not for consignment, boy. Respect your opponent, y'all some piranhas, boy. This my advice, from me to you. Open up your cute little podcast queue. Search up GOAT District, my dude. Pop it in your ear, man, y'all know what to do. It's the... And I always be traded. And I always be traded. And I always be trading. Y'all try to betray them, but first you gotta bait them. Fish.